Hello, this is Yaro Starak, and welcome to the Entrepreneur's Journey podcast. Today's guest is Lewis Howes, ex-professional footballer turned millionaire internet marketer and leader of the School of Greatness. Let the journey begin. Hello, my name is Yaro, full-time blogger, podcaster, and living the laptop lifestyle. Thank you for downloading this episode of the Entrepreneur's Journey podcast, where you're going to hear another inspiring story from a successful online entrepreneur. Today's story is from Lewis Howes, who has a very interesting background. He came from a history of professional sports as a footballer, then an injury, broken wrist, stopped his career, which led him to basically sitting on a couch for 2 years, trying to figure out what to do next, how to build his life back up. He discovers internet marketing primarily through LinkedIn. LinkedIn was his main platform to begin with, which he slowly built himself up to become an expert at. That led to doing live events, and then he did a webinar and sold a teaching product on LinkedIn, which then spiraled over the next 3 years into a multi-million-dollar internet marketing teaching business. And then he decided to basically stop. He had great success, but he was feeling a bit burnt out about that subject and started what he calls the School of Greatness. He also switched sports and became a professional handball player. There's a lot of both tactical and inspiring storytelling in this interview. So I think no matter what background you're coming from, no matter what reason you listen to my podcast, there's something in this episode for you. If nothing else, you will definitely feel inspired after listening to what Lewis has gone through over previous years. Before I press play on the interview, I'd like to invite you, as always, to join my EJ Insider Club. This is my interviews club, so if you like interviews like this and want more on a regular basis with million-dollar bloggers and information marketers and email marketers, then the EJ Insider Club is for you. You'll get 2 brand new interviews every month, at least from me, as well as an action plan to go along with those 2 interviews, where I extract the leverage points from each person I interview and tell you how you can apply the same leverage that allows them to get the million-dollar results. To find out more about the EJ Insider Club, go to ejinsider.com/interviews, and you can sign up there and also listen to some samples from all the interviews that I have available in the program. Okay, that's my promo for this episode. Let's begin the interview. Here we go. Hello, this is Yaro Starak. Welcome to the Entrepreneur's Journey podcast. And today I have a long-time internet friend named Lewis Howes on the line with me. Hello, Lewis. Thank you for joining.
What is up, my man?
Now, Lewis and I have known each other in the virtual world for many years. Although I've never met the guy in person, I do feel like I know you extremely well, Lewis, because your photographs are plastered. You know, this big smiling man, larger than life, football player, handball guy, School of Greatness. You know, you got a little bit of Tony Robbins mixed in with a little bit of sporting hero going on. Plus, you're doing the whole, internet marketing and coaching and podcasting and everything. So there's a lot to talk about. And I think one of your biggest claims to fame is obviously the college football background story as well. That's sort of your, I guess, the hero's journey kind of thing, and the rise from the ashes story, which I'd love to cover for our listeners. But in terms of business, we were just talking, I was trying to clarify exactly how you make a living on the internet nowadays, which isn't as clear as what it used to be. Because when I first met Lewis, he was working with a guy named Sean, and you guys were doing a whole bunch of webinars in kind of everything. Like I saw you, you were known as a LinkedIn specialist. Sean was known as a Twitter specialist, but then you were going to like Amy Porterfield and doing Facebook with her and presenting that. And then you were doing another one with someone else of another subject. And I know we did an interview many, many years ago as well about blogging. So, but that's not your main thing anymore. You sold that business. So how do you make a living nowadays so we know why we should listen to you in terms of internet marketing, Lewis?
Well, I've got multiple streams of income, and we briefly chatted about it, but I've got my main focus right now is building this brand, School of Greatness, and the podcast, which it's now at 50 episodes and over 1 million downloads, and it just hit the 1-year mark. So I'm pretty proud of where it's come from there. And I decided when I launched that, I really wanted to broaden my topics. So I used to be doing LinkedIn and social media training and kind of just online marketing in general. And I wanted to broaden my kind of reach. and not just focus on social media. And so the School of Greatness kind of was born from that. And then I realized that so many entrepreneurs were listening, and they were just like, we want more advanced training. We want access to you and the people that you interview. So I created the Academy, which is, an online community with a mastermind for entrepreneurs, resources, the top resources every month. And then, my opinion, the most valuable part, which is the accountability and keeping people accountable. And I actually have an initiation process for this. I don't know any other membership site or continuity program that does this, but people pay a nice fee every month and every quarter to be in this. And in the first month, I have them submit a huge goal that they want to achieve, maybe something they've put off for years that they haven't done. And in that month, they get 30 days to complete that goal, whatever it is that scares them the most. And if they do not complete it, they get kicked out of the Academy, removed forever, can never come back in. And it's amazing what people create when that type of pressure is on the line, when they don't want to miss out on a community. And I just kind of came up with it. I was like, man, I don't really care about the money. I really care about people getting results. And it's been unreal what people have created from that. So I'm excited about that. I've got a couple of books that generate sales every single day. I've got consulting. I do advising. I've got equity and get paid monthly from some different startups who have me on as kind of a marketing advisor. Sponsorships for my podcast. I get sponsored by a couple companies as an athlete with the USA national team. So I try to tap into multiple streams of income whenever I can.
Yeah, you're a bit of a jack of all trades in crossing industries as well. It's funny when you said about the initiation process. I was thinking frat house then.
Yeah, exactly.
Something like that. But that's a really great idea on accountability. And that really ties into your whole concept of greatness and motivating people. Because clearly, I think there's a strong personal development aspect and shooting for the stars with everything you do, which I want to go back in time. But there's one thing I want to know before we do that. The positioning you have with the School of Greatness, and I know that's your strongest passion presently. When you were looking to, I guess, begin the podcast and then enter this whole world of teaching and coaching and having this personal brand around that concept, it's a little bit fuzzy in the sense it's very motivational, but it's not like I'll teach you blogging, I'll teach you pay-per-click advertising, I have this system for following to make money and I'm the best at it. So when you were thinking positioning statements to enter what is now a very crowded space, and you obviously from your past knew that you entered as a LinkedIn specialist, that was your doorway to internet marketing as an expert. With the new way, how did you, was it just this, let's see if it works. This is the part I care about the most, so I want to go out there with it. But it's so intangible. There's nothing, it's very touchy-feely, but there's no I'll teach you how to make 10 grand a month using this special technique kind of thing attached to that. So explain that.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, LinkedIn was kind of my bread and butter, and I really got in at the right time when there was another guy kind of talking about it when I was started out, but he was kind of talking about the career side of things, and I was talking about the business, how to build your business with it, and I really kind of ran with it and put a lot of my energy into it, and it kind of blew up. And then there were many people that followed, but I just got bored of talking about it. I'm super grateful for learning it all and being in the social media space and speaking and doing all that stuff. But I just realized that's, if I had one day to live, do I want to talk about LinkedIn? And do I want to talk about email conversion rates? It's just, I started thinking about, I started making a lot of money, and I went from sleeping on my sister's couch and being completely broke, 3 credit cards in debt, losing my dream of playing professional football through an injury, and just kind of depressed, to making enough money to get on my own apartment, to then making a lot of money, saving up, moving to New York City, doing everything I wanted to do eventually. And then I was like, but if this was my last day on earth, would I want to do a webinar on LinkedIn? Or do I want to talk about the stuff that really matters to me and that really inspires me, and that I believe will inspire other people to get what they want in their life? And so, when I transitioned out of the company with myself and Sean, passed it over to him, I was trying to figure out what's my next move, what I really want to be creating. I'm not scrapped for money or anything, but what I want to do to leave a legacy, to leave a mark, and how do I want to serve the world? And I realized through the last 5-6 years that I'd connected with so many inspiring people. A lot of people have supported me along the way, you being one of them, and that I learned from so many different people like yourself that I consider kind of just mentors from afar, or people, coaches from afar that don't even know it, that I just pick up on stuff. So I said, I want to do this podcast and really tap into what matters the most for people. And if people listen to this podcast, once a week or whenever they listen to it, and it gives them something that they couldn't put their hands on, or they weren't sure how to achieve something before, but it gives them that one little thing, whatever it is, whoever the person I'm interviewing, to then support them in achieving their dreams. For me, it's like that's all I really cared about. So from there, I said, I'm just going to do this thing for a couple of years, and I knew podcasting was growing. I'd seen what Pat Flynn was doing and John Lee Dumas and all these other people, and I was like, it's going to get big. In the next year and a half, 2 years, this thing was going to get big. I just hit the 1 year mark about a week ago, and I didn't know it would be this big as it is now. And I can only project where it's heading with what I've created from it so far. So for me, I said, you know what? So many people were just emailing me and saying, you've got to do more episodes. You've got to give us more. This is amazing. The people you're interviewing, the questions you're asking are just different than anyone else is asking. And so I said, you know what? There's a group of entrepreneurs that listen to this show and who are on my email list that want deeper access, that want a deeper community, that want something to take to the next level. They want to bridge the gap between building a business and having an amazing lifestyle and personal development and mindset, and they want to have it all together to take them to the next level. So that's kind of what, I guess, everything I've been doing my whole life has come up to this point, and I'm mixing and matching all the things that I love and putting it into the things I'm doing now.
And then it's safe to say that very strong personal brand and concept was easy to translate. Well, not easy, but it translated to a viable business because you built this following. So it's essentially, let's see if I can go out there with this message. Do people like it? Do people follow me? Well, want to replicate it and be part of it? And then you've been slowly building out a kind of a coaching, mentoring business behind that. Yeah.
It's been 5 years since I've been doing stuff online, and I've built a nice audience of people that like the content I've created, and I've given a lot of free information. I know you do have a lot of free content constantly through your podcast, through your articles, through your blog and everything. And I think that over time, people really are committed to you, and if you do it the right way. And I'm just very blessed and grateful to have people that enjoy what I like to write about and speak about, and believe in me, and get results from the stuff that I share with them.
I think you're another, and there are many now, poster child for the idea of 1,000 true fans, or even more nowadays, or having a tribe, like what Seth Godin talks about, where it's almost like you don't have to have a positioning strategy beyond your personal brand and the core message that's associated with it. It doesn't have to be applied to a technique anymore, or a business model, or a strategy, or anything like that. It's just this concept that people latch onto, whether it's the 4-hour work week or the School of Greatness. It's just something that people want to be a part of.
Right. And I and the name actually, I don't even remember how the name came to me, but a friend might have actually mentioned something that made me think of it or whatever. But I was just always like, I want to achieve greatness in everything I do. And you said I'm kind of a jack of all trades, and I was a decathlete in college as well, which is basically being a master, or being great at everything but not a master of anything in track and field. And that's kind of how I live my life. It's like I just really like to do everything really well and have multiple things going on at the same time and do them all extremely well.
How do you do that, Lewis?
I'm actually writing a book about that right now, because I think it's like a skill that it's a muscle that you got to develop in order to be able to do that. And I did that with many sports, and then after college I did it with salsa dancing, with learning the guitar, with learning how to build a business without going to business school or knowing how to sell it all, with public speaking. There's a lot of skills that I picked up. And a lot of it is really simply comes down to desire and obsession. So each thing, I was just like, I really want this. I desired it so much. I was so afraid of public speaking. And I was just like, I want to be able to speak in front of thousands and not shake and sweat like I do right now in front of 5 people, back in the day. And so there's this desire that I wanted so bad, and I didn't want to be afraid anymore. And then it was just complete immersion. So with Toastmasters, with speaking, I joined Toastmasters, and every week I went to the meetings, the weekly, trainings for learning how to be a public speaker. And I was practicing every day, writing scripts. I was working with my speaking coach mentor 3 days a week, going over my next presentation. And I was just fully immersed in learning how to become a public speaker. Same thing with salsa dancing. I went out 5 days a week to the clubs or to group lessons for 3 months. To learn how to dance when I could barely walk, and I got rid of all music. I only downloaded salsa music so I could listen to it all day long in my car. And then every night when I'd get home from the clubs, I would watch 2 hours of YouTube tutorials showing you breakdowns of the moves for salsa dancing. And I would practice by myself in the mirror because I was too embarrassed to dance with anyone else and make them look bad. So it was, again, this full immersion in obsession of wanting to learn it. And in about 3 months, I was able to go to any salsa club all over the world and dance with any salsa dancer I've ever wanted to dance with, any type of level. And I could hang with them. And same thing for guitar. When I wanted to learn guitar, it was 3-4 hours a day obsession. It was working with another guitar player to show me how to play one song at a time, then learning chords, downloading stuff on guitarchords.com, just really being immersed in each thing that I wanted to learn, and not giving up until I learned it.
There's a strong passion behind every activity you went after there, Louis.
Yeah,
so.
it's not just a casual thing for me. It's if I want to learn something, it's let's go all in and let's learn it as fast as possible and add that tool to my tool belt so that I can apply it in every other area of my life.
You don't do these things at the same time. They're concurrent or sequential. Because I can't imagine you dancing and guitar teaching or training for 4 hours. You have to sort of stagger these things.
Exactly. I think it's a couple things a year is what I've been. But then some things play off. When I wanted to learn handball, I never played before, and I gave myself the goal that in 1 year I was going to make the USA national team. I was going to be one of the top 16 players in the United States for an Olympic sport in less than a year. And I said, the only way to do this is to play with the best and get coached by the best. So I moved from Columbus, Ohio to New York City and trained with the national championship team of all former European professional handball players who lived in New York City. I trained with them. I watched game film. I went out with them and learned their moves, everything. I moved to a city to learn a sport, and then in 9 months, made the USA national team and went and played internationally in Argentina against Mexico and a bunch of other countries.
Amazing. There's an aspect of, and I don't want to say the same people, but there's a Tim Ferriss vibe coming here. Although Tim sort of hacks away, it sounds like you just throw yourself into the deep end and live and breathe it for a while. But we've gone so off track. We're kind of doing a highlight reel of all these things you've done, Louis. But there is a journey I do want to cover. Maybe we can make it a little bit, maybe connect the dots with all these things you're talking about. So I'm assuming when you were born and then you turned into this big guy who loved football, you were thinking football career is the rest of my life, or at least for the first half of it while I'm a young man. Is that true?
That was the dream, man. It was really to be a pro athlete. And in high school, I wanted to be a professional basketball player, but I stopped growing. So when I got to college, I realized that was my best bet, was being a professional football player. And then at 20, whatever it was, 3, when I got injured, and it was kind of I had to sit out for a year and a half and the dream was over, I was screwed, man. I was just what am I doing next? I have no backup plan. I didn't study my entire childhood in school because all I wanted to do was play sports. So what do I do next?
And snapped your wrist, was it, by the way?
Yeah, broke my wrist diving into a wall playing an arena football game, and was in a cast for 6 months. And I didn't have any money, and I was sleeping on my sister's couch for a year and a half recovering. Never knew how to make money. I didn't have a job in high school or college because I was training in the off seasons. So I was kind of I am screwed. I have no clue how I'm going to like survive. And I did not want to get a job. I don't think I could have ever had a job, because once I got a taste of like having my own schedule and just like playing for a living, it was like I could never go back to, something not that. So luckily and gratefully, and I'm super blessed that my sister brought me in for, as long as she did, so I could kind of recover. And I just became obsessed with learning about how people were making money online. I was, all I could do was lay around, and I had my laptop in my lap all day. I was connecting with people on LinkedIn and kind of like calling them up and asking them questions about their success and how they got there. And then I was just learning about blogging was kind of coming around in 2008. And so I was reading about people who were blogging. I remember reading about Chris Brogan and Darren Rouse, and I remember reading your blog and being like, holy crap, these guys are making like $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a month just writing content about what they're learning or what they know. And I said, wow, I think I could do this with LinkedIn, because I was spending like all day on LinkedIn as well. That I could start teaching people about this, because there's a real need, especially with the economy in the U.S. at that time was going down, and people were trying to figure out how to build their business and get jobs. And I really just mimicked what other people were doing and read a lot and listened to a lot of audios and watched videos and just said, okay, if they can do this, I can do this. And took action. That was it.
Did you follow the sort of typical model of I'll give away some free information, build an email list, and then offer my first paid product, that sort of thing?
I was pretty clueless of like how to do. I didn't know how to code or like build I didn't even know how to like set up my own WordPress page. I didn't know how to do anything. So what I was doing originally was I had built this kind of pretty sizable audience on LinkedIn, and had created some of these like business professional groups on LinkedIn. So had this audience, and I decided to throw some events, live events. Was the first thing I ever did to make money, was hosting LinkedIn networking events, where I was getting 300 to 500 people, paying anywhere from $5 to $20 to get in and just do like 3 to 4 hours of networking at a restaurant/bar in cities across the country. And I was making like $3,000 to $4,000 in cash when I was doing this. And I was like, I am rich. I'm making this cash. This is more money than I've ever made. And, but it was after 20 of these events in 1 year, I started to get like burned out from like marketing these things to traveling to setting them up and dealing with the venues. It just wasn't, worth it to me anymore. That's when I wrote a book about LinkedIn and I started selling this book at the last couple of events, and people were like, man, this is great information. I want to know more. And that's when I met Joel Comm. And he said, hey, I want to get you on a webinar and talk about LinkedIn, because no one's talking about it. And this is like the social media bootcamp thing that I'm doing. So I did that. I didn't know what I was doing. I had never been on a webinar before. I didn't know how to create a sales page. I had a buddy like put one together for me last minute. And I sold at the end of this webinar like this live training, because I didn't even have a product. I just sold like a live 3-hour LinkedIn advanced marketing training or something for $150. And I made $6,300 in that webinar in that first hour. And I was freaking out. I was like screaming and running around the house. I was freaking out. And I never made that much money in my life. And I was like, this is where it's at. I was like, webinars and selling at the end of the webinars. I was like, I need to become a master at this, because I could do this every day for the rest of my life. And I pretty much did that for the next 3.5 years. I did about 700 webinars. And I was just selling, and I became a master. I devoured everything I could to learn about webinar marketing and sales and presentations and how to sell without sounding salesy, and just really connecting with an audience online and everything. I've immersed myself in learning about webinars, and that's kind of where everything led for the next few years, with creating products to sell on these webinars, and then launching other individuals and creating products for them and marketing it for them. So it's been a fun journey.
Only 700 webinars. That sounds about the same amount of work of writing articles I've done over the same period. So yeah, it's not. There's work to do. Let's be honest about that.
Yeah, I put in the work and the hours. That's for sure.
You paid your dues.
That's it.
Yeah. Okay. So now that's 3 years of your life. I'm assuming income was growing. You're moved out of your sister's house. I'm assuming at some point, and I know you obviously partnered with Sean at some point. I don't know, since you sold that business, whether you can talk too much about that or not. But is there, like, I know you guys had a unique model, and that would be something I'd like to at least mention if you could talk about it, because I think there's only so far you took LinkedIn, and then you decided we need to branch out into other things. Is that right?
Yeah, we started, launching other products from other content creators, like James Wedmore for YouTube. We were like, let's find the expert, and then we'll launch them. It'll be our product. We'll give them a commission. They create the content. We do all the marketing and everything. So we started doing that with a couple of individuals, like you said, Amy Porterfield. And everything was growing. It was going amazing. We did like a couple million a year in sales each year, and it just kept growing. I was doing a lot of the webinars. I was doing the webinars, kind of presenting, and Sean was doing more of the back end stuff. And we had a great little thing going. And it got to the point where I was like, okay, I moved into my own apartment. I've paid off all my credit card debts, my student loans, like everything is paid off. And I still had this burning desire to be an athlete. I'd kind of taken, I guess, 3 or 4 years off now since I've been injured in 2007. And I was like, I really want to go to the Olympics, and I really want to be a competitor at the highest level still, even though I can't play football anymore. And that's when I saw team handball in the Olympics in 2008 for the first time. And I was just like, when I make enough money, I'm going to move to New York City and learn this sport. And so kind of the time came where I was just like, all right, I've made enough money. I've got it saved. And I want to go give this a shot, because I knew if I didn't try and go after it with a full heart and full energy, that I'd always regret it. And, I wasn't getting younger. So I was like, I got to go do this now. And even for the first year and a half when I was in New York, we were still building the business and everything was going great. It just started to get, I just started to lose interest. I really wanted to talk about other things. Again, LinkedIn, like I just could not talk about how to build a LinkedIn group anymore. I was just so over it and, bored with it that I wanted to, it's just not what I was passionate about anymore. So I started to phase out of that.
I would like to talk more about the business stuff, but maybe let's finish your story, because I think if we close the loop and then we can dive back in, because I know, my audience is very much at that we haven't got that $2 million business yet. How did you get there, Lewis? But let's open that loop now, and we'll close it once we finish your story. So you decided to become a handball player, and now how old are you then? And why isn't your broken wrist stopping you from playing handball?
Well, it's a good question. I was 27, I guess, when I moved to New York City, and now I'm 30. I'll almost be 31 in March. And so my wrist, and I'm right-handed. I broke my right wrist, so I have a bone in there from my hip that they fused into my wrist. And I've got about maybe 60% range of motion if, left. It's kind of like stuck. It kind of doesn't go all the way back. Maybe it's 70% now. I do a lot of physical therapy on it. So I could have played football. I could go play football right now if I wanted to. It got to the point where it was really painful to like catch and to block. Like there's a lot of blocking in football as a receiver, and to put my hands out in front of someone and push. Like I still can't do a push-up today because it hurts my wrist. I have to go on my knuckles. So it was just kind of like, do I want to just be in pain every play? Like I could do it and it'd be nagging. But at that time, it's tough to make the NFL if you get injured and try to come back when there's young guys who are like fresh and freak athletes every year. So I was just kind of like, it's going to be just an uphill battle. So handball, it's easier. I can still throw really hard. It's just I don't have the flexibility as much. So I have to kind of bend my arm back a little differently and throw a little differently. But other than that, it's not painful. And
it's not as much of a contact sport as football is, right?
It's contact, but you hit in a different way. So instead of like pushing your hands out to block someone, you literally take your arm like a lacrosse stick and you slam it across someone else's arm. Okay. And so it's more of like I use it as a weapon than kind of like a blocking thing.
So friendly.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a different motion, and it doesn't hurt. Well, right. It hasn't yet. So
it's funny whenever I hear about handball. I grew up playing handball in school here, but that's where you draw a chalk line across the pavement, and then you get
Yeah.
a tennis ball out and you hit it back and forth at each other. And that's what
Yeah.
I knew handball was until the Olympics would keep popping around and they'd say, there's handball at the Olympics. And I'm like, cool, there's handball at the Olympics? And then I'd see the sport and go, this is some kind of weird sort of cross between lacrosse and indoor football and netball. I just, what's going on here?
Exactly. It's you try explaining it in the United States where no one knows it, and they always ask me if is that the New York style handball where you hit it against a wall, and I have to always explain it. So,
right, and your ambition with that was, or still is, to get to the Olympics, right? Or has that been?
That's correct. Right. I mean, it's going to be a challenge because we haven't qualified in over 20 something years. I think since 1996 was the last time they went, because we had an automatic qualifier because every host country gets an automatic qualifier. So the goal is to play as long as I can and stay on the United States national team for as long as I can to compete internationally with the country. And then, every 4 years, give ourselves another chance.
And you got selected for a team in Spain. Was that expected?
Yeah, it's interesting. When I moved to New York to learn the sport, I started telling people, I was like, I really want to go play professionally in Spain because that's where they were like the world champions, and they always have. I wanted to learn Spanish. I wanted to go to Spain. I wanted to play handball there because it was to learn from some of the best players. So I just thought it'd be like a win-win-win. And about 6 months ago, one of the players on the New York team had a connection with a coach who was a coach of a team in the top league in Spain. And they invited me to come over and train for a training camp. So I was there for a couple of weeks. And really, these guys are unbelievable. They're next level. So I learned a lot from them and got a lot better in a short amount of time just because you have to play up to people's level. And they offered me to stay on the team and play for the whole season. I probably would have just been like a practice player and maybe gotten in at the end of games when they were up by 10 or something. But and it would have been a great experience. But it was just like, do I want to go live here for the next 7 months and only play handball? That's pretty much my life. But I had a number of other things that I was doing in Los Angeles, and I wanted to keep growing my business, writing my book, speaking gigs that I had commitments already with, and some other TV show opportunities that I'm working on. So I was trying to just weigh my options and see what to do. But I may go back and play for 2 to 4 weeks at a time, but it may not make sense to go for a full year.
Okay, so I'm assuming then now you're just playing for the U.S. team and you're just doing everything to do with the School of Greatness business. Is that where we're at presently? Yeah,
mostly just the USA team. So there's a residency program where they train in Alabama, actually, at a university called Auburn. And a lot of the team is down there living full-time, training and practicing every single day. So I'm going to start going down there probably every few weeks to train for a week or two at a time and just kind of stay in the rotation with the team and practice and just kind of stay top of mind awareness with the coaches as well.
Right. And again, I know it's a bit of a huge list of things you do, but you're speaking, you're doing your podcast, you've got this School of Greatness coaching program which you're running. So you're pretty much got a nice little combination of activities going. Before we
I'm not bored.
No, sounds like it. Let's. I think that pretty much closes the loop on your story. Obviously, I could dive into every little piece there, but I think we've got a good sort of explanation. Now, you obviously teach people business as well, so this is a very relevant question for how you answer this today. You've got someone coming into your world, whether it's by joining a coaching program or something like that, and they maybe not be making much money from the business, or maybe not even making any money. They don't have a business idea yet. They're a brand new person. How do you help people nowadays with, given you're not going to just say, go start a LinkedIn profile and build up your audience that way, and you're not specializing in the sense that let's do Facebook marketing, let's do blogging, let's do podcasting, although you are doing podcasting. Do you have a formula for how to get to a 6-figure, 7-figure business that you now teach people, or what exactly do you teach?
Yeah, it's very easy. What I teach is, I think, very simple. People tend to get a little overwhelmed. It seems like there's too much information, and I like to simplify everything and just go to the basics, figure out what works, and then take action and repeat it over and over. So what I teach right now through my academy, I've got a couple of clients that I work with, and they all make 6 and 7 figures within months after doing this. A lot of them usually have something already going. So if you're just a brand new beginner, then it's going to take some time for you to build an audience. That's just plain and simple, unless you've got the money to buy leads and to buy, ads and build up your list that way. But what I teach is discovering first what it is you love the most and that you're the best adequate to talk about. And I know that may sound a little cheesy, like discover what you love, like discover your passion, like, because you hear people say, just do what you love, do what you're passionate about. But it's really true because, I ran LinkedIn. I did the LinkedIn thing for a while and it was like, yeah, I can make all this money, but I got burnt out because I wasn't really in love with it. So you can make money around anything, affiliate marketing and just doing these different things that make money. But I feel like at some point you're going to get burned out. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just my feelings and what I've experienced for myself and many other people that have done this.
I can concur. I had the same kind of situation after starting a blog in 2005, launching a coaching program in 2007, and doing really well from 2007, 2008, 2009. When I got back from traveling the world in 2008, and I had a bunch of new business opportunities presented to me, but in the same area, I was tired of the same thing. I don't want to talk about how to grow a profitable blog and do those things so much. So I looked at doing other things, although it's funny because I've kind of come back full circle now and I'm excited to do it again, but mainly because it's changed so much from where I used to do it. So it's like learning a whole bunch of new skills myself as well as, passing that on to people. But yes, burnout happens to everyone. I think that's probably one of the biggest problems for entrepreneurs. I keep hearing from everyone because people almost like rise to the top like this amazing star, and then slowly they'll disappear and
they vanish.
They're burnt out. They moved on to a startup. They changed their business model. Something happens, and it's something to look out for, I think. But anyway, we're at the beginning here, so we're helping beginners. So continue.
So is this for beginners or is this for?
Well, let's focus on where you specialize. So
okay, cool.
Okay, not traffic generation, but
yeah. So again, what I like to specialize in is first discovery of what you love, and there's lots of different people in my academy there's an acupuncturist, there's like someone who does vegan foods, there's athletes, there's coaches, there's lots of different people. So it doesn't matter what it is you love, but figure out what you love. It can be travel, it could be friends. I love cats, whatever it is, figure out what you love. There's a way to make money around it. And I know you know this, Yaro, but there's a way to make lots of money around anything.
What's the cat business that you propose, Louis, just to clarify?
I mean, the cat business, let's just say someone likes cats. They're like in love with cats. Yeah, okay. Let's say you're in love with your cat. Okay. You can create a boutique cat design store where you're promoting clothes for cats. You're promoting the top food for cats. You're writing about activities to do with your cats. You're writing about the coolest toys that are out there. And you're creating a brand and content around how to have an amazing life with your cats and what to buy them and what to, all these different things, how to walk your cat, how to do whatever. So there's ways to do that, and you'd be selling through affiliate products that way and things like that. But what I like to do is discover what you love the most and discover what your passion is first. And then from there, it's all about selling something before you have it. And a lot of this is through information. I like to figure out what your expertise is and then sell your expertise before you create a product. And I've taught this a number of times to entrepreneurs, and it's kind of crazy, the results. One of the acupuncturists who's in my academy, she did this last week. She has clients. She probably does, 30, 40 hours a week in her studio where she's, putting needles in people and doing acupuncture work and healing people, and she loves it. She made 6 figures last year from it, but she was like, I want to make more passive income, and I don't want to be in the office all day trading my time for dollars. So what we did is I said, okay, cool. Why don't you teach other acupuncturists how you made 6 figures and see if they're even interested. So what I want you to do is I want you to run a webinar, and everything stems from a webinar for me because this is what I know, and this is what I know works really well, where you can get sales. And we've done webinars where we converted really well in the past also. And so she ran a webinar, And I said, well, here's what you're going to do. You're going to get some free content, just teaching people how to get new clients, how to talk to people in the grocery store or at the gym, to bring people in to be your customers or your clients as an acupuncturist, how to run systems better in your office, all these different things to like make six figures. Whatever you did, just talk about it. And at the end, you're going to sell something for a price point. We decided it was $199. All she had was a PayPal link. She didn't have a sales page. She didn't have anything. She had a PayPal link. And I said, you're just going to tell them that you're going to deliver something within a week to them. And here are the things that you're going to deliver them. It's going to be a number of videos that you get to come up with what is going to be delivered in these videos, the content. That's going to be step-by-step how to do all these things, plus the documents and the files and all the other stuff that you use for your business that's going to support them, and everything else. You're going to give it away through this video training course, this online course. Then, so she did that.
Just to stop you for one question,
yep.
How did she get people onto the webinar? I'm assuming she didn't have a list to begin with.
Great question. So if you don't have a list, what I told her to do, I think she had a list of like 100 people or something. So what I told her to do is spend some money on Facebook ads. I think she spent probably like $200 on some Facebook ads, and she just targeted acupuncturists. I also told her to go into LinkedIn and Facebook groups and find the acupuncture groups and then share this free webinar inside the groups, and even reach out to the group owners and ask them if they'd be willing to promote it, or if you can jump on with them and they can interview you on there and all these different things. So she only had 78 people on, so it wasn't that many people. Right. But for her first webinar, because she did all these things, she did the Facebook ads, she did it all, and the groups, and was just like promoting to her little small list, asking some of her, she reached out to some acupuncture schools and just asked them to like share it on their website or whatever, and said, hey, I'm doing this free workshop, feel free to promote it. And she had 78 people on, and she did I believe it was 34 sales at $199. And she was freaking out because she made like $7,000 or something, or whatever that is, in that hour, when she normally makes about $8,000 to $9,000 in a month from working 40 hours a week. So I also told her to do a couple other things. And actually, it's going to take long to explain it, but she made money off of a couple other streams of revenue streams as well by setting up an insurance deal. So a lot of acupuncturists, they don't make money because they don't know how to bill insurance for insurance. And so she has like the key on how to do it the right way that saves a lot of time and makes the most money. So now she's getting a 4% commission on every claim from every acupuncturist that she signs up in this billing system for life. And so that's going to bring her a lot of passive income. So she's freaking out. She generated 3 new streams of income from one webinar, and people are eating up the content. And she didn't have a product. She didn't have a sales page. She didn't have anything. She created a webinar and did it on Google Hangouts. So did it for free. Used lead pages. I think it's like $40 or whatever. And spent maybe $200 on Facebook ads. And that way she didn't spend 3 to 6 months creating some video training course that she wasn't sure that anyone would buy. So this is the key, to launch a webinar first and sell something after you deliver all your wealth of information for free. Sell something to see if people are even interested. And yeah, you've got to do a little bit of marketing and hustle to get people on, whether that's your own list, whether that's partnering with other people, whether that's buying a list, begging people, whatever it is, you got to get people on it. And there's ways to do that. You just got to make it happen.
I can see, I guess, the legacy that's still present in your current teaching is the webinars. That's, if anything, that
webinars, man. Yeah. I mean, this is another thing. I'll give you another example. One of my other clients, John Lee Dumas from Entrepreneur on Fire. Yes. He, we connected about 5 months ago before he was really making a lot of money, and he hadn't done a webinar yet. I think he was making like $40,000 a month at this time, or like 30 or 40 grand a month from sponsorships only. And so,
which is amazing still for a podcast.
Amazing. It's great. But I was like, dude, you've got this wealth of information. Podcasting is growing. You've got to start teaching this, because that's where the money is going to be made, when you teach what you know. So he developed this product called Podcasters Paradise, and we worked on the price point. We worked on like the positioning, everything together. And I said, you've got to run webinars to this thing. That's what's going to sell it. In the first, I think, month, I think he did like 100,000 in sales doing like a couple webinars. Now he's got this thing dialed down where he's doing over $25,000 a week from doing one webinar. And he does Facebook ads and he promotes it to his list. And that's all he does. And I think he's spending like a couple $1,000s a week on Facebook ads. That might be even pretty high. He might be spending like $1,000 or $600. I think is what he was doing originally. So he's making $25,000 a week. This month, he's about to surpass $200,000 in sales from his sponsorships and his product. And it's all from the webinars is where you generate these sales. So that's what I believe. Teaching people what you know the best, solving a problem for people, and packaging it in a way that is consumable and easy to follow. And if you can make it entertaining as well, then that's great. But really, doing a webinar and selling something you don't have is the best way to get started to see if people even want what you're going to offer. Because if they don't want it, then you don't have to create the product.
Fantastic. Before we wrap up, I am kind of curious, Lewis, about these accountability quests you give everyone as they enter your program over the 30 days. Is there one or two that you could share that might be a little bit unusual in the sense that they said, I've got this big dream to hang out with, I don't know, Michael Jackson? Well, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
We'll go Michael Jordan. I don't know. Something that's maybe not like, I just want to make $100,000 from selling my info product. I don't know. Where are the dreams at?
Well, this is the initiation. It's when they join, I tell them that set a big goal that is achievable. Don't set a goal that's not achievable, but something that is a huge stretch. But you know that if your life was over if you did not make it happen, that you'd be able to make it happen. So I want people to be a little scared and be like, okay, I've got 30 days to do something that if I dedicate 4 hours a day on this, it's going to get done and it's going to happen. One person was like, I wanted to like book a TV show, and she got like, casted for this show. Another person was like, I want to get on a TED. I think it'd be amazing to do like a TEDx, and she booked a TEDx speaking gig. Another guy was like, well, one girl, the acupuncturist was like, I want to do $10,000 from a webinar, and she did 8,000. She's got another couple weeks or whatever to make it happen for the other 2,000 or whatever. So it's like people want to launch membership sites. People want to interview 20. One guy was like, I want to interview 15 people in the sports business world, and he got all 15 interviews done to launch his podcast. So it's just like different stuff that, again, is a big stretch for people that maybe they've been putting off for a while because they're just like lazy. They don't have any motivation, but now they have the accountability to make it happen. And the coolest thing is like people announce what they're going to do in the community, in the group. So everyone gets to stay on them. The community self-regulates each other. They all stay on each other. They all support each other, congratulate each other, and it's a great little support group.
I'm kind of curious too, and forgive me for digging into everything here, but how do you deliver all of this? What's your platform? Because I've been talking to a few people, and I know you might be in this group. Do you know the Dynamic Circle? Are you
not in that?
Those guys? Okay, I'm not in that either, but I've recently been hearing about it. They're from the Tropical MBA guys that started.
Gotcha.
They use a Ning social platform to run their membership for that, and then of course James Schramko, who I think you know.
Yep.
From down in Sydney, he's got a vBulletin forum running his sort of group coaching program. So
Sure.
it seems to range from forums to even like a Facebook group, or even I think back in the day it was like email news group type things. You subscribe to
Google groups.
Google groups, yeah. So you could just maintain it through that. So what are you doing? What's your technology set up for delivering paid content nowadays?
Yeah, right now to be honest, it's a private Facebook group is where the forum's at. And then I've got a wish list membership site where I host the content, but everyone's on Facebook all day. So I think it's easier for them to just log in there and then kind of connect really quickly and see what's happening with notifications. So that's where the community is at right now. I don't think there's a perfect solution out there. And, I'll probably be tweaking some things. I've got a buddy of mine, Brian Moran, who's working on some really cool stuff with membership sites that I'm testing out right now that I may roll over. But it's, I don't know if there's ever going to be a great solution for any of this stuff. It's just a matter of what works for you right now and for the members.
And what's your shopping cart email provider? Because I know everyone loves that question. How do you take money and how do you send your newsletter and those sorts of things?
Yeah, I mean, again, no perfect solution, but what I'm using right now is Stripe, which I actually like Stripe. I just started using it, so I'm using Stripe with a custom cart that Brian Moran built, which is not released yet, which is really clean, that I'm loving. I don't even know if he has a name for it yet, but I'm using that. It's kind of like a one shopping cart, but for like super dummies, like anyone could use. And so for me, it's perfect. And then I'm using Aweber for that specific community to deliver emails. And then I also use iContact on my personal blog newsletter list. So that's the solution.
All right. Sometimes the technical stuff is boring for people who do this all day, but I know there's a lot of newbies who they want to know, how do you set that up and what do you do that with? So I'm on Entreport myself. So
yeah, I was on Entreport, and then it was kind of like, this is too confusing. For me, I need it simple. I'm not like that technical at all. I'm not.
So funny because I went with Entreport because Infusionsoft was too confusing. So.
Right. I mean, Infusionsoft is confusing too. And to be honest, I was like, they're all too confusing. So I need something that's like so simple that I can literally log in and just like click one button and know what I'm doing, as opposed to like, what am I, what's happening here? And for me, it was more about, I don't want to spend 40 hours learning a system to be able to deliver a message to a community and, get some sales. I want to spend an hour max setting it up, the least amount of friction to deliver the most amount of value. And not that Entreport or Infusionsoft are bad. I think they're amazing, and I hear amazing stuff about them from other friends who use them. Just for me, what works the best is simplicity, and that's what so far is the most simple.
Mm-hmm. I should ask you, what do you use for webinars too? Is it all Google Hangouts nowadays?
I kind of took a break from webinars and just was like teaching people about them.
What do your chiropractor use?
Yeah, well, she used Google Hangouts.
Right,
well, I guess it's actually live. It's YouTube Live, so you can only have like 10 people on a Google Hangout, but it's like the Google Hangout platform, but you do it through YouTube, so there's like a 20-second delay type of deal, which I'm still trying to figure out if I like that. I've done it a couple times, and it's kind of annoying with this delay, and so who knows? But GoToWebinar is still amazing. In my opinion, it's like kind of the standard, and it works. But John Lee Dumas is doing the YouTube Live thing, and he's making $25,000 a month from that. So
he doesn't have any add-on to that. He just uses the YouTube Live. No.
It's YouTube Live. There's a chat called like, I forget the name of this chat. It's like Chat Tango or something, or Chat something. So there's a live YouTube video stream, and then a chat box on the right hand side that people can chat in. And leave comments during the presentation, but that's pretty much it. Those two things, and then there's like a buy now button or something.
It's a lot simpler than all the functions you've got with GoToWebinar, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I like GoToWebinar with the polls and with all the stats and everything it's got in there, and it sends out email reminders, but it's $3.99 a month or something, or $2.99 a month. So Google Live is free. And you just got to buy the whatever $10 or $20 for the unlimited chat or whatever it is, So it's just depends on what you want and how much you want to spend on this stuff. Again, you can use Infusionsoft and spend $300 a month, or you can use Aweber and spend $30 a month. Whatever you want to use.
Exactly, because I think there's a stepping stone you can work through with technology as well and work your way up to things. So
exactly.
What are we doing now, Lewis Howes? What's you've had some success with everything you're working on right now. It sounds like your star is rising again, and we want to avoid that burnout thing that happened last time, right?
Right.
You do sound like you have a good mix. What's your 30-day goal? If I said accountability, Lewis Howes, what do you think by the end of February?
Oh man, that's good. Yeah. You know what? It's been an amazing. 2013 was a great personal growth year for me to really evaluate what I want, letting go of stuff that wasn't working for me, and creating like a clearer vision for myself. And what I've really realized is that I do well under extreme coaching, and having great mentorship and coaching. And I feel like I've lacked that over the last year, 2 years. I've kind of like, I wouldn't say like surpassed my mentors and coaches, but I would say it's, I feel like I'm not as stretched by some of the ones I used to have. And for me, it's like I understand as an athlete that I crave and I excel when I have a coach that really pushes me, that I respect and value their opinion. And so for me, I'm looking for that coach, and I was thinking, who would I want to work with or who would I want to learn from? And you mentioned like a guy like Tony Robbins would be someone great to like work with or learn from and just grow around their energy. But I don't know if I'm willing to spend like $1 million for it a year or whatever. So it's I think discovering maybe it's multiple people, mentors or coaches that I either hire or just work with on a mentorship mentee basis. Also, my personal goal is my next book, which I'm writing about kind of greatness, kind of all the things we talked about here, how to achieve greatness in anything, business, sports, life, relationships, and kind of my process. And so the book, I've finished an outline and sent to my agent. So really moving that forward and getting to the point where that's being sold in the next couple months to a publisher. So
awesome.
That's
which might be out by the time you're listening to this podcast. So we should probably direct everyone to find out more about the Lewis Howes Show, the School of Greatness. Where do you want to send people to?
Yeah, just go to lewishowes.com and it's got my podcast there, which is School of Greatness. You can find it on iTunes or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And everything's at lewishowes.com, and say hi to me there or on social media.
Yeah, and check out his design too. Lewis is, I wouldn't definitely call it a traditional blog design. You've gone, I don't know, it's like the modern version of a personal brand website. I don't know how else to put it, really. You need a new phrase for what it is. So.
What are your thoughts on it? I get emails every week from people over the last year who say they use it as a case study for how to build their website.
Yeah.
But I would love to know what your thought is as an expert blogger, if you if you think it's
well, I mean, you saw I posted a question on Facebook asking yourself and Pat Flynn and Derek Halpern regarding design, and I've been looking at blog designs, and I try not to get too caught up on this thing because it's almost like it's a bit like the art part of blogging.
Yeah,
it's the part where you get to play around with how you present your image, but you kind of get caught up with it, and it doesn't always impact the bottom line as much as it probably should if you're going to spend that much time on it.
Right.
I don't know. I don't think there's an answer that's right in every situation. Right. I do, like, Derek's blog, Social Triggers, is so simple. And I do expect it converts for a pure newsletter opt-in better than anything else. But, it doesn't necessarily do other things well. You're not going to find his podcast easily. You're not going to find videos easily.
Right.
And then you're maybe not going to get a sense of a feel for what kind of person he is besides just reading his writing. Where your site, certainly you're larger than life all over the place on that thing. But that's not going to suit everyone either. Like there's some quiet
it might turn a lot of people off.
Yeah, well, it won't turn people off because I think your personality matches the image you're trying to present. And that's what you want to do. But if I'm this, let's say not quite perfect physical specimen sitting at home, an introvert, I don't want to plaster my face all over my blog. I don't want to be the face behind my business as much. Then obviously that's not the design that's going to work as well.
Sure.
So there's a very personal decision to make, I think, with this sort of thing. But I don't know. I like to look at metrics first, especially if you're just struggling to make money. In some ways, you probably made the decision with this blog because you had a somewhat open-ended goal with the School of Greatness. You were kind of maybe seeing where it was going to take you. Yep. And by focusing on you got to go, let's open this door and see who comes in the building. Where other people like, I got to sell this product and this product, so let's just get people into the newsletter and run with it, So different goals. But yes, thanks for the question, Lewis. I Pat's as well. I think there's so much cool stuff happening in design, but you got to think about where people are coming from. I mean, I get so frustrated with trying to change things too, because you got to have a kick-ass designer to do a lot of this stuff. Who does your design work?
I've got Digital Telepathy, which is this amazing design company in San Diego. They're a little pricey, but for me, I believe those that have great design are going to win long term. And I think Derek's site is amazing, socialtriggers.com. He's got great content and this and that, but he's also kind of redesigning it lately. And he's going to come out with something soon because he really wants to build his authority up as well. Yeah. And kind of like have this clean design, and just like, it doesn't have to be too much, but still simple, but just like effective in a different way.
Yeah.
So I think those that design well are going to win in the long term.
Yeah, I think it's certainly becoming more a part of your image. See, the funny thing, and I remember this is a conversation I had 4 years ago when design was becoming more important with generally everything online. But then you had the Dan Kennedy School of Direct Response Marketing, and these guys still haven't changed. It's ugly header, but copywriting that's very persuasive, and they run 7, 8, 9, 10-figure businesses behind some what you would call ugly designed sites.
I think they're targeting an older demographic too, and who maybe doesn't care about design as much, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many people on the internet, right? Like that's the biggest thing about it. There's those who are going to love design and they're going to go hang out with you because you love it too. And then those who care about results and design, I don't want to bother with it because it's too much work. Just give me results. And they might go with Dan. So it's a big place, the internet.
It is a huge place.
Anyway, Lewis, let's wrap it up. LewisHowes.com. I'll put the link, obviously, with the blog post that this podcast goes live at. Thank you for mixing it up there. I think we got some of your stories, some motivation as well, some very practical information, and looking forward to seeing what you get up to in 2014.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you so much, and you're a huge inspiration to myself and the entire online entrepreneurs community out there. So I appreciate everything you do, and I acknowledge you for being a leader in this space so early on when no one knew what they were doing. So
yeah, I'm an old man now. I'm getting comments like that. It's amazing. I didn't think you could become an old man when you're still in your 30s when it comes to a career, but hey, who knows? The internet grows fast.
Exactly. Well, I appreciate you, man.
Thanks, man. I do appreciate that. And thank you to all of our listeners who joined in and listened to the show today. And there you have it. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Lewis. It was very inspiring for me just to be a part of it, I have to say. He's doing some amazing things with his students, and his whole philosophy about business is one that I wholeheartedly am in line with and agree with. And I'm looking to continue to replicate myself, as I hope you are as well. As a reminder, you can get this podcast on SoundCloud by going to soundcloud.com/Yaro Starak. You can also find it on iTunes by searching for Entrepreneur's Journey or just my name, Yaro, and subscribing there. And of course, all the links for this show, including the subscribe options, are available at my blog at entrepreneurs-journey.com. And just tick the podcast tab at the top. Let's try that again. Click the podcast tab at the top to find all my previous shows, and you'll obviously find Lewis's there as well, where you'll find the links to go with this show. And don't forget, you still have the opportunity to join my EJ Insider Interviews Club by going to www.ejinsider.com/interviews, where you can listen to some sample interviews, download some materials from the program, and read about everything you receive as an EJ Insider Interviews Club member. Thanks again for listening. My name is Yaro Starak, and I'll catch you online very, very soon. Bye-bye.